There's a version of discipline you see online. The 4 in the morning alarm, the cold plunge, the spotless desk, the color-coded calendar, the protein shake, the workout, and the journal entry, all finished before most people have opened their eyes. Everything looks controlled, powerful, almost effortless. And then there's real discipline, the version that happens when the alarm goes off and you lie there negotiating with yourself for another 10 minutes. The version that happens after a difficult shift, when you still have something important to finish. The version where you don't feel focused, inspired, or particularly confident, but you begin anyway. That version isn't impressive to look at. It's often quiet, uncomfortable, and completely invisible. But that's the version that changes your life. If you've ever looked at somebody else's routine and wondered why discipline seems to come naturally to them, but feels so difficult for you, I want to clear something up. Discipline is supposed to feel difficult sometimes. Feeling resistance doesn't mean you're failing. It normally means you've reached the moment when discipline is actually required. Think about it. You don't need discipline to do something when you're excited about it. When you've just made a plan, bought the equipment, or imagined how different your life could be, motivation can carry you. The real test arrives later. It arrives when the excitement has worn off. The results aren't visible yet, and nobody is checking whether you continue. That's when the internal argument begins. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. You decide today doesn't really matter. You remember everything else that needs doing. Suddenly, reorganizing a drawer feels more urgent than the thing you've been avoiding for 3 weeks. That doesn't make you lazy. It makes you human. Your mind naturally prefers what is familiar, comfortable, and immediately rewarding. The work you're avoiding usually offers none of those things. Its reward may be months away, while the comfort of not doing it is available right now. Discipline is choosing between those two rewards. And sometimes you'll make the wrong choice. You'll turn the alarm off, miss the workout, spend the money you meant to save, avoid the application, put the difficult conversation off for another week. One missed day doesn't erase everything you've already done. The real danger is what happens next. We often turn one missed action into a verdict about who we are. I've ruined it. I clearly don't have enough willpower. I knew I wouldn't stick to this. Then we abandon the entire plan because restarting feels like admitting we failed. But restarting is part of discipline, not the glamorous part, not the part people make videos about, but perhaps the most useful part. You don't need to punish yourself, create a new identity, or wait until Monday. You simply return to the next decision in front of you. That's all. If you missed yesterday, today isn't a test of your character. It's another opportunity to continue. Research into habit formation supports something much more realistic than the perfection we're often sold. Repeating an action in a consistent situation helps it become more automatic over time. Missing an occasional opportunity doesn't automatically destroy that process. Consistency matters. Perfection doesn't. And consistency doesn't mean producing your best performance every day. It means knowing what your minimum looks like. If the full workout feels impossible, perhaps the minimum is 10 minutes. If you can't write the whole page, write one paragraph. If your home feels overwhelming, clear one surface. If you're trying to find work, your minimum might be opening the application and completing the first section. The smaller action may not feel impressive, but it keeps the promise alive. There's an important difference between reducing the task and abandoning it. Reducing the task says, I'm struggling today, but I'm still participating. Abandoning it says, if I can't do it perfectly, there's no point doing anything. That all or nothing thinking has probably ended more good intentions than laziness ever has. Real discipline is often flexible. It adjusts without disappearing. There's another side of discipline that doesn't get discussed enough. Discipline is not the same as constantly forcing yourself. Sometimes the disciplined choice is to stop. It might mean going to bed instead of staying awake to prove how hardworking you are. It might mean taking a recovery day before exhaustion becomes an injury. It might mean admitting that the routine you designed for somebody else's life doesn't fit your own. You may have children, unpredictable shifts, health problems, caring responsibilities, or a job that already takes most of your energy. Your discipline does not have to look like somebody else's morning routine to count. It needs to work inside your actual life. There's a difference between resistance and genuine exhaustion. Resistance often sounds like, I don't feel like doing this. Exhaustion sounds more like, I don't have enough left to do this safely or properly. You won't always identify the difference perfectly. Nobody does. But you can learn to ask a better question. Do I need to stop completely? Or do I need a smaller version today? That question removes some of the drama. Instead of deciding whether you are a disciplined person, you decide what action is realistic right now. The aim isn't to win an argument against yourself every morning. The aim is to make the argument less necessary. You can do that by removing friction. If you want to walk in the morning, put your clothes where you can see them. If you need to work on something after dinner, decide exactly where you'll sit and what you'll open first. If your phone repeatedly takes an hour from you, place it somewhere you cannot reach without standing up. If you're saving money, move it automatically before you have the chance to spend it. These decisions can look too small to matter, but they change what happens when your energy is low. Willpower asks you to make the right decision repeatedly. A good system makes some of those decisions in advance. It also helps to connect the action to something that already happens. After I make my morning drink, I'll work for 10 minutes. When I return from the school run, I'll make one phone call. After I finish dinner, I'll prepare what I need for tomorrow. The time itself isn't what matters most. The repeated situation becomes a reminder. Eventually, you spend less time deciding whether to begin. But even with a good system, some days will still feel difficult. The same task that felt manageable on Tuesday might feel enormous on Thursday. Your circumstances change. Your energy changes. Life happens around the habits you're trying to build. Both days still count. Not because struggling gives you some special prize, but because you kept the relationship between the situation and the action intact. You showed yourself that the action is still available, even on an imperfect day. That matters. Confidence isn't only built by achieving impressive results. It's also built by collecting evidence that you can rely on yourself. Every time you keep a small promise, you add to that evidence. Every time you return after missing a day, you add to it again. Eventually, the story begins to change. Instead of saying, I'm trying to become disciplined, you start to think, this is something I do. That change usually happens quietly. There may be no dramatic morning when you suddenly feel like a different person. You'll simply notice that you're spending less time negotiating. The action still requires effort, but beginning no longer feels like a crisis. And when life changes, you may need to rebuild the routine again. That isn't going backwards. Discipline is not a destination you reach and permanently own. It's a relationship you keep rebuilding with yourself. Some seasons will be stronger than others. Some will require smaller promises. What matters is that you stop treating every difficult day as proof that you've lost your way. Tomorrow's practice is still available. So the next time you feel resistance towards something you said you would do, pause before judging yourself. Don't turn the feeling into evidence that you're incapable. Ask yourself 3 things. What is the smallest version I can honestly complete today? What can I change now to make beginning easier tomorrow? And do I need genuine recovery? Or am I waiting to feel motivated? Answer honestly. Then make one decision you'll respect yourself for later. It doesn't need to look powerful. Nobody needs to see it. You don't have to film it, announce it, or transform your whole life before breakfast. You just need to keep one promise. And if you don't manage it today, return tomorrow without turning it into a story about who you are. That is what discipline actually feels like. Not constant motivation, not punishment, not perfection. It feels like resistance, adjustment, recovery, and return. Again and again. Before you go, I want to ask you something. What is one promise you keep making to yourself? And what would the smallest realistic version of keeping it look like today? Leave your answer in the comments. It might help somebody else realize that progress doesn't have to be perfect to count. Subscribe if you want more of this. No hype, no fake energy, just the truth. Don't wait to feel ready. Rise anyway. This is Arizin.